Hey, buddy.
Sorry about that. I had a concrete pour today and it wasn't done until now.
All right, I want to welcome you out to our Flagler County Planning and Development Board meeting for July the 8th, 2025. The first item on the agenda is the roll call, Madam Secretary.
Michael Boyd,
Here.
Michael Goodman, Ron Long,
Here.
Mark Langelo,
Here.
Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Connor, and Mr. Lombardo are all excused. We do have a full quorum.
Thank you. Would you all please join us as we pledge the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the approval of the June 10th regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Also, the approval of the amended February the 11th meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is a quasi-judicial process. The audience should refrain from clapping, booing, or shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramification and possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in 3 aspects: form, substance, and appearance. Time limits will be observed. The staff has a 10-minute time limit on their presentation. The applicants have a 15-minute presentation unless the board passes a consensus to extend that. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, 5 minutes if you're speaking on behalf of a group. And then the applicant rebuttal and the closing staff comments are 10 minutes each. Item number 4 is quasi-judicial, requiring disclosure of ex parte communications. Anybody on the board have anything to report?
No.
No.
Okay, seeing none. This is project number 2025060005, a request for approval of a PUD site development plan in the Plan Unit Development District. Mr. Mingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So location is shown on the graphic on your monitors and also within your packets. This is Unit 6A. It's bordered on its east side by Sterling Bridge, on its west side by the Strickland Canal. So you can see there, this is on the future land use designation consistent with the Plantation Bay DRI is mixed use, low intensity. And then the zoning, also consistent with the DRI, is planned unit development. Flood zone here is all Zone X, not part of a special flood hazard area. And you can see the soils do have a mix of the 2 types of soils here with this one. I think that's going to be 19. That's got the one that's a little bit of a concern to us. That's Valkyria fine sand that's down towards the bottom. Let's see, that other one's 21, Smyrna, on both of those. Both fine sands should have good drainage characteristics to both of those. Water table also is, I think it's relatively low there, at least compared to most. It's Florida. What are we kidding ourselves? And so then you've got the wetlands map that does come up. We do have a bit that shows up with that Valkyria sand that's there. And so that you have that mix that's, right now there is a pond that's on the property. There's actually 2 ponds. And you'll see how those are being reconfigured in your packet. So if you looked at that already, the packet has it where that pond that's showing on the west side of Sterling Bridge is being reconfigured. So the overall development map, this is how the area is shown for 6A, as you see in the black circle, kind of just to the offset to the left of center. And so it gives you an idea of how this particular development fits in with the overall master plan. This is known as Map H. And then this is the dimensional requirements that were prepared for the particular development for 6A. Note here with this is that the lots 1 through 14 have a 35-foot front minimum setback. Those are the lots that directly adjoin Sterling Bridge, if I'm remembering correctly. And then 15 through 57 have the 20-foot And so that, just a little different on those, but I think I've got those lots correct in my reference.
Adam?
Yes, sir.
I did have a quick question about that too, because these say a minimum lot width of 50 feet, of 80 feet. Why are the side setbacks so small? I mean, it's their choice, but I'm just wondering why that, with lots that are so big, they're going so close.
Good question. I think I'll look to the applicant to help me out on that, but I think the quick answer is that the 80 feet with that minimum 10,000 square feet then, and then the 5-foot setback accommodates their average home size that they're coming up with, and so that they're putting quite a bit of home on these lots, still reserving an area in the back with these, so that we've seen that before. It's, I would say, approximately a third of the lot area at the rear is available for pool, for screen room, so you have that accommodation in the back. But the quick answer I've got on that is that the 5-foot also gives them that allowance on the sides between the built units themselves to the property line, but then also it's consistent with what we've done recently in the development.
No, I know we have done it, and we've done it with lots with 50s, 40s, and smaller ones, and this one, since it was big, I just didn't know if they're, I can see if they're trying to, it doesn't have a depth on there, so I didn't know how that was working out, so, okay, thank you.
Welcome. And then we did have, a little different than what we've had in the others, but the reason for this, and we've talked with the applicant about this, we've had the change to our tree requirements, and so we have a step that's coming in from the developer that will actually amend the DRI development order to have some very specific landscaping and tree requirements within the Plantation Bay DRI. In the meantime, though, I think it's appropriate to have this, and this is kind of a schematic of what you'd have for a proposed landscape criteria. There are more detailed sheets that are within your packet. I think there's some 5 or 6 sheets that are there, but this one, generally speaking, is the one that we'd follow with this. I don't think I have to put in all 6 of those into the PUD here, remembering this is the big PUD document that goes through and has the standards for, I think, all 13 of the units that we've had in Westlake, or more recently in Westlake. So that this sheet, I think, alone kind of covers what we're expecting for the landscape criteria within the PUD within 6A. And then here's that overall layout sheet that's within the PUD itself. You can see those lots 1 through 14 along Sterling Bridge. They're going to have that 35-foot front setback. And then the single cul-de-sac that comes in and runs up. And then along and parallel then to the Strickland Canal that's on the west side of the property, oriented here, north is to the top, south is to the bottom, east is to the right, left is your west side. As I mentioned, the 57 single-family detached lots on 36 acres. This particular area could allow up to 145 dwelling units, and so the proposed density at 1.5 units per gross acre is well below their allowance. And then this PUD site development plan step requires Board of County Commissioners approval. That's important because of the next item that I'll mention on the preliminary plat. So there's something I'll need to mention there. But this step has to go through the Board of County Commissioners review and approval. We've advertised that for August 18th, I believe. And so that's a night meeting of the board hearing starting at 5:30 for anyone who's tracking this. So with that, the options available to the Planning Board recommend approval of the PUD site development plan and development criteria, along with the ordinance. I have the heading provided here. Or you could recommend denial. And the basis for denial would typically be that it doesn't meet the criteria within our comprehensive plan, our land development code, or the development order for the Plantation Bay DRI. Or you can continue the PUD site development plan to a time and date certain. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll submit my report for the record, await any questions or comments from the board. The applicant's also present for their presentation and to correct anything that I've gotten way off on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one other question, Adam. We keep obviously getting these, as they get them ready. Do we have any idea roughly how far along they are in the percentage of development that will be coming to us? And it's just like, are we halfway? Are we 3/4 of the way? Are we almost done? Or
One thing I don't think I've shared with Mr. Smith about this is that I've been preparing for both Plantation Bay and, what's the other development I've been doing it for, the DRIs? What's the other one, do you remember? Hunter's Ridge. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I've been preparing a summary that's for the purposes of helping our school planning. And so what I've been doing is including platted lots, number of platted lots, number of permits issued, and then number of COs. And so I've had those as part of my reporting, and wouldn't hurt for me to share my math just to see if I'm accurate, but I think I'm pretty good on where we're at. And so it's a series of spreadsheets, and I'll bring that to the next meeting to give you an idea of where we're at. I'll
Yeah,
bring
I'm
it up to
just
date.
curious. I know we've been seeing this for a while, obviously, and I just didn't know what percentage. I'm sure also some of the people in Plantation would probably want to know.
It's a good question.
And by the way, ma'am, you can get all this documents online. Yeah. Well, we have it in a packet but you can go online and download the whole thing.
Any other
Everything we
questions
see.
for staff? If not, we'll ask the applicant if he wishes to come forward and state your name for the record, please.
Certainly. Dick Smith, ICI Homes, Vice President of Land Development, 2379 Bevel Road, Daytona Beach. Don't have a lot to add to Adam's presentation. I will answer Mr. Langello's a couple of questions. The 5-foot side setbacks are basically a continuation of what we've been doing in Phase 6. So this is a continuation of the phases just to the north of this. If you've been in the community, you notice that we have a lot of 3-car garages. We've got a lot of golf cart garages, and therefore that frontage is the wide frontage is very critical, and it's been very much in demand by the marketplace. So we are answering the demand from the market with that. These lots are generally range 140 to 150 foot deep, so they are deeper than typical.
Yeah, I know that you had other lots that are much smaller
Yes.
in there, but
Yeah. These are some of our larger lots. Yes.
And you still went to the 5 feet. So I just didn't know if that was a typo or was intended. Okay.
No, sir. And not all of them will be to the 5 feet, but we would have the flexibility to do that. Also, that 35-foot front setback along Sterling Bridge Drive is to accommodate the sidewalk. There is a sidewalk there now, and that sidewalk will be replaced once we get rid of done with development. As far as your question on the total number of units, don't forget, we straddle the county line, so we have quite a few number of units in Volusia County. But generally, in all of Plantation Bay, currently we're getting close to about 3,000 units, and we expect when we're totally done, we'll be about 4,500 or so.
Okay. So you're 75%
Yeah,
there.
2/3, 75%, yes, sir. But I'm free to answer any questions you have other than that.
Any questions?
This has always been part of your master plan out there, is that correct? Or is this something that y'all just off the whim decided we're going to add to it?
Well, originally this area was going to be a golf clubhouse, a satellite golf clubhouse with a couple of golf holes and so forth. But in recent modifications, this has been turned into single-family housing area.
All right, thank you.
And I did have a question, I'm sorry. Where are we at with the water and sewer? I know that there was discussion when we saw a phase last year that was being handled. I don't know where we're at with that. Obviously, we're not getting this far if you guys didn't already see that.
Good. Quick answer, we've got utilities provided by Florida Governmental Utility Authority, FGUA. I think there's been some work on extra wells. It's safe to say that, and so that's underway still, I think, permitting through Water Management District to increase that well field and have additional capacity. I think sewer side, I think everything, I haven't heard anything, I haven't been involved with anything with FGUA I think that's moving along as best
So
it can.
capacity, they have a capacity that they have allocated for water and sewer, and they're
Yes.
fine.
Yes, sir.
And they will meet the demands when the homes are built.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time we'll open it to the public. Any member of the public wishing to comment on this item, please step forward. Seeing no one approach, we'll close public comments and go to the board. What's your pleasure?
Chair, I make a motion, we approve project 20250600005, request for approval of PUD site development plan in the PUD Planned Unit Development District.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, that was a mouthful, huh?
It wasn't in there, yeah, yeah.
I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Any opposed?
did we get public comment, Chair?
We did. We asked and nobody came up.
Sir. Item number 5, this is also quasi-judicial. Anybody on the board would need to report anything?
No.
Seeing nothing, this is project number 20250500066, a request for approval of a preliminary plat in the Plan Unit Development District. Mr. Mingle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this same area, this would be the preliminary plat step, but I'm running through this quickly because, and I'll show you the pages of the plat, but then I have kind of a bit of a housekeeping announcement to make. So that here's the page 1 of 5. This is the cover sheet on the plat. This is the key sheet, is what this is known as, and so this is page 2. And then you have the bottom, the platting area there at the bottom, the middle, and then at the top. And so all this is good. Ordinarily, we would be bringing this to you for your recommendation, but there was a change to statute that happened, and it went into effect July 1. We did the notice. We were wondering if this was going to happen, and so it did. It got signed by the governor very late. You can see there 2025-164 Laws of Florida if you want to go and read up on this later. But what this does is this now says that there will be, for counties, municipalities, a designated administrative authority that will approve plats in a ministerial approval instead of having these go forward as a quasi-judicial agenda item. We still have a bit of housekeeping on our end. We'll be bringing forward an amendment to the Land Development Code for you to review. And now that I'm thinking about that, I think that the only opportunity I have to do that will be next month in order to keep the timing for what we have working with this. And so that where we are right now with this, we've done public notice for preliminary plat. Certainly, I suppose you're able to open up the public comment, let people make comments if they wish to, because they did receive that public notice. But for the record, there won't be a recommendation that will be coming from the planning board regarding this or any future plat, preliminary or final. We're going to follow statute and remove those requirements for the review by the planning board and the approval by the Board of County Commissioners from our Land Development Code. And so that it's a housekeeping for us to change it in our regulations in our Land Development Code. This is an example of maybe a good preemption in statute where the legislature has done something that eliminates a somewhat onerous process. We've had plenty of times where we've had folks, again, not disparaging public comments and public involvement, but somebody has come in late at the process. You've had a land use and a zoning, and they've come in then and said, I don't like the plat. Well, why don't you like it? Well, because it's too many units. Well, that was actually at the time of future land use amendment or rezoning when that comment should have been made and could have been made, but often it's the folks who have moved in are having these things facing them then in their neighborhoods. And so we're not the only local government going to be dealing with this. We're one of 67 counties, and there's, 427 municipalities, I think, all over the state. So we're all going to have to figure out how to make this work, and our particular approach is consistent with the statute. We're not going to be reviewing these in the future. And so maybe good news, maybe bad news. With that, I think I've already said too much. I'll turn it over to Mr. Moylan for anything I've left out.
Well, I don't think Mr. Mengel left anything out. We are now preempted, and the reading of the new statute, it says that we must administratively approve plats. And I just came from a conference and spoke to land use attorneys from all over Florida, public and private, and we all agree that administrative means not in a quasi-judicial proceeding, but at the staff level. We will be bringing a resolution to the Board of County Commissioners pursuant to the statute that designates which staff person will be given that authority for the approval. And a few other related matters that I guess I don't need to get into the weeds of. But one thing that Adam said I'd like to follow up on, a lot of times when we get preempted, we don't like it. We feel like the legislature is not giving us our home rule authority under Florida's Constitution. In this particular instance, we're happy with the change in the statute because the public is often confused about plat approvals. The way the statute reads with a plat approval, you are essentially checking off a list literally, are the margins half an inch? Is there an arrow pointing north? Does it list the township and range? A very technical type of review. And the public will show up at a county commission meeting thinking that it's a chance to stop, in their view, overdevelopment. And so this will eliminate that confusion. The chance for the public to chime in is during zoning, and that's the appropriate time. So this particular plat just kind of got caught in the timing of it all. You might recall this was a very unusual legislative session. There was a lot of infighting with the House, the Senate, the governor over the budget. And many of the bills were just kind of laid on the table or were sort of sat in limbo. And at the last minute, they were all shuffled off to the, or actually not all, very few of them were shuffled off to the governor for approval. And so this was one of them. And the governor signed it into law. It took effect July 1st. So that's why this one was on your agenda, even though we kind of got caught in the timing of it. But my advice to you is to not take any action on this, because if you do, it would be contrary to Florida law.
Okay. So do we want to go through the process, listen to the applicant, go to public comments?
That's fine, yes. Just don't take any action. Don't make a motion.
Right. Okay. Does the applicant wish to state anything? Please state your name again, please.
Dick Smith, ICI Homes, 2379 Bevel Road, Daytona Beach. I really have nothing to add.
Okay.
It's the same information that was presented before. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions from staff or from the board? All right, we'll open it to public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to make a comment on this item, please come forward. Seeing no one approach, we'll close public comments. Yes, sir.
Let me just ask, it sounds like, so we're not doing anything with this item right now. We're not voting to table or do anything. We're just ignoring it?
It's
that
as
we're
if, it's as if staff pulled it off your agenda.
Okay. And then the second thing was, I like how you kind of politically said it was for the public, but I think it's probably also maybe there would be some elected officials who might have maybe, tried to use that opportunity as well. But just so I understand something, does this mean that you guys must approve the plats when they submit it? Or is there somebody in the government that will review it and keep denying it until it meets all of the criteria? And is there an appeal process and there is, I see Adam.
It has to meet the requirements of the statute.
Okay, so they have an applicant who keeps saying, and I keep submitting this thing, he tells me to put a north arrow, I have, they don't like the way I make the north arrows, and I'm getting tired of this, who do I appeal to?
The statute is very clear that if we deny it, we have to tell them exactly why and cite to the specific area of the law that we would be denying it. This statute itself, it does not provide an avenue of appeal, but the courts are available, not pursuant to this statute, but,
So there would not be a political remedy, you have to take it to court.
right, that's
So
correct.
maybe that wasn't as well thought out, though. I mean, just saying, again, not that it would happen necessarily in our community, because I don't see that here, but I have been to some communities where the particular staff sitting behind the table, aren't very well briefed, aren't educated, and will keep denying things. I've seen things go on that you would be amazed. Like I said, they don't like the way you drew the north arrow. You can draw it 2,000 times, they'll keep saying, I don't like that north arrow. And so you get frustrated. Now you gotta go get an attorney and go through a, 2-3 month process, at least getting on a court docket to get this thing taken care of. And I just thought that, they would maybe have an appeal process, but okay, that's all. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we'll close agenda item number 5 and go to agenda item number 6. This is a quasi judicial requiring anything to be reported. Anything from the board?
Nope.
Seeing none. This is project number 2025-050045. Request for variance in the mobile home district. Ms. Simone.
Thank you. Simone Kenny, planner. This project is located at 34 First Avenue, which is located up in the Hammock. The future land use is residential low-density rural estate. The zoning is MH1, rural mobile home. It is in a particular flood hazard, being in flood zone AE. The soils are primarily Pomelo-fine sands, and according to the National Wetlands Inventory, there are no wetlands on the property. And then this is Lot 14 of Block 17 of the second addition to Johnson Beach. And here is the hand-drawn site plan. The owner is requesting a 5-foot rear west, so that's at the bottom of your screen is west, the top is east, from the minimum required 10-foot rear setback for a pool. According to the submitted hand-drawn site plan, the pool is proposed to be located 5 feet from the rear property line, and then 5 feet from the rear of the existing dwelling, being 10 feet wide, and then 13 feet from both the left and side property line, left and right property lines. According to the permit record for the existing dwelling is located 40 feet from the front setback line and 20 feet from the rear setback line, leaving no other practical areas in which to place a pool. Again, the subject property is 50 feet in width and about 124 feet in depth, having a total area of 6,200 square feet. As a result, the subject property is an undersized lot of record, being about 37,000 square feet under the minimum required lot size in the MH1 district. Here are some photos that were submitted with the application to help visualize how that would look. Again, the pool is proposed to be 10 feet wide, 5 feet from the rear of the dwelling, 5 feet from the rear property line and the fence. And in this photo, you can get a better glimpse of that side setback. I think the arrows got a little bit misplaced. They're intended to show that the sides of the pools would be 13 feet from the side property lines. So again, to summarize, this property is 6,200 square feet. It's lot 14 of block 7 of the second addition to the Johnson Beach subdivision. It is an undersized lot of record. The specific request is for a 5-foot rear west setback variance from the minimum required 10 feet for a pool. This is a before-the-fact variance request, and no comments or objections have been received thus far. So reading our specific variance criteria into the record, the first asking that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. The subject property is a non-conforming lot of record. It is undersized for the zoning district, having been platted prior to the adoption of our land development code. Again, the minimum lot size in the rural mobile home district is 1 acre, and the property is 0.14 acres. Criteria 2 asks that such conditions were not created by the affirmative actions of the applicant and that they have acted at all times in good faith. This is a before-the-fact variance request submitted prior to building permit applications. The applicants have acted at all times in good faith. Criteria 3 asks that the variance if granted would not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, and safety, and staff found that it would not. Criteria 4 asks that no variance be granted for use of land or building that is not permitted. Pools are a permitted use in the MH1 district. And then finally, it states that a variance, if granted, shall be the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the hardship. Staff found that the requested variance is the minimum relief, providing access around the pool, in between the pool and the rear of that dwelling. And again, there's no other reasonable locations on the property in which to place a pool. So your options as the board are to find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met, and therefore approve project 202505, project number 2025050045 for a 5-foot rear west yard setback variance from the minimum required 10-foot rear yard setback for a pool in the MH1 district at 34 First Avenue. Or you can find that all the variance criteria as listed have not been met and therefore deny the project. Or you can determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain. If there is a decision on a denial, we would ask that you call out the specific criteria not met. And with that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Any member of the board have any questions for staff? If not, we'll call the applicant forward if they wish to make a statement. State your name and address for the record, please.
Michael and Susan House currently reside at 29 Malacompra, recently acquired 34 First Avenue. Sorry, I've been sick for the past couple days. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We've orchestrated and created a rental property opportunity. We've submitted through,
Can you speak up a little, or get closer to the mic, please? sir?
sorry, Michael and Susan Howes. We currently reside at 29 Malacompra Road. We've recently acquired and purchased 34 First Avenue. I just wanted to make reference that the residence that we acquired was currently being occupied, but it was not receiving any current upkeep or modernization to it. There's two other additional homes that are to the south of us that are both in a condemned shape. So I think the decision that we made was to try to acquire the property. Being a local resident to the community, the aesthetic appearance is important to us. We put a sizable investment into this property in excess of $400,000 to improve it aesthetically. And we are hopeful that the request that we're asking for can be accommodated. We've done our due diligence and our necessary research and registration to create a rental home environment for what we've identified as Coastal Cottage. So we just want to be able to extend and open an opportunity for people to visit our community and have a clean, nice environment that can support a pool. So thank you for letting us be here.
Okay, any member of the board have a question for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question of the staff real quick, but then I want to ask you a question. Are they required to have this as an as-built when they're done? Are they going to need a survey and an as-built?
As part of the pool permit, yes.
Okay, do you know who have you picked the pool builder yet?
I am the pool builder, sir.
You are the pool builder?
Yes, sir. I am a
Okay.
licensed pool
The
contractor.
only thing
builder,
I can tell you is that so that you got tight setbacks, and you didn't bring in a survey, but just make sure that you meet those setbacks, or you're going to come back here again saying, well, the surveyor hit it in the wrong spot, or we dug it in the wrong spot, and you just that way. I'm just giving you the warning because we've seen these before. There's a small little variance they're going to give you administratively.
Sure.
So,
Well, I can appreciate that. I am a licensed general contractor, builder, roofer, and pool builder in Flagler County, and I have dealt with Susan Graham in many environments. So I expect to meet with her at the completion, and I know what to expect.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? I assume there's no easements on the property?
No, not on the lot.
Not the lot, okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time, we'll open it for public comments. Anybody from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please step forward. Seeing no one approach, we'll close public comments and go to the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the application as stated.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it if Mike will read the number of the application.
The application number is 202-505-0045.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7 is also quasi-judicial. Does any member of the board have anything to report on this item?
No.
Seeing none. This is project number 2025-050046, a request for a variance in the mobile home district. Ms. Simone.
This property is also located up in the hammock off of Shady Lane North. Future land use is residential low-density rural estate. And we can see here that it backs up to a large parcel in the Hammock Dunes subdivision that has a conservation designation. The zoning is also MH1 rural mobile home. It is not in a particular flood hazard, being in flood zone X. The soils are primarily Cocoa-Bulo complex, and there are no wetlands on the property. And then according to the plat for Magnolia Manor 2, this property is Lot 5, depicted here having a width of 50 feet and a depth of 100 feet, giving it a total area of 5,000 square feet. The owner originally came in with a request to place a shed in the rear property, again, north being to your right-hand side. They originally wanted to place the shed 5 feet from the rear property line and then 5 feet from the right east property line. At our TRC meeting, staff inquired as to the distance between the proposed shed and the mobile home. We have a section in our land development code that requires a 10-foot separation between buildings in the rear setback. At that point, the owner informed us that he would actually be removing the existing mobile home and replacing it with a single-family dwelling. The demolition permit for the mobile home has been issued. Staff also requested that the property owner provide the dimensions for the shed, the proposed residence, and any other under roof areas to calculate the property's lot coverage, because this property is as small as it is. And so the owner then resubmitted a hand-drawn site plan showing the approximate location of the newly proposed dwelling and shifted the proposed location of the shed to 3 feet from the rear property line to maintain that minimum required 10-foot separation. And they also provided the lot coverage calculations. With the proposed dwelling being 1,536 square feet, a future deck being 360 square feet, and the proposed shed being 80 square feet, again, that's an 8 by 10 shed, the total lot coverage would have been 1,976 square feet. Again, with the property being only 5,000 total square feet, this layout will result in a 39.5% lot coverage, almost 10% over the maximum allowed 10% lot coverage in the rural mobile home district. This morning, the applicant also submitted some additional materials to help visualize. Here's what that proposed dwelling would look like. Again, north is on your right-hand side, 2-story with that proposed future deck as well. Again, to summarize, the lot is 5,000 square feet. It's lot 5 of the Magnolia Manor 2, Unit 2 subdivision. It is an undersized lot of record as well. And so the specific requests are for a 7-foot rear north yard setback variance from the minimum required 10-foot rear setback, a 10-foot right east side yard variance from the minimum required 15-foot side yard setback. Again, in this case, although it is a lot of record and the primary dwelling gets those 7.5-foot side setbacks, those don't apply to the accessory structure. So the shed would be subjected to the 15-foot side yard setback, as well as a 10% lot coverage variance to exceed the maximum allowed 30% lot coverage in the MH1 district. This is a before-the-fact variance request, and no comments or objections have been received thus far. So again, our variance criteria, instead of reading them all individually, I'll just go by our staff analysis. So for number 1, the subject property is a non-conforming lot of record, as it's undersized for the zoning district and predates the land development code. The minimum lot size in the MH1 district is 1 acre, and the property is 0.11 acres. Number 2, this is a before-the-fact variance request submitted prior to the application for a building permit. The conditions were not created by the affirmative actions of the applicant, and they have acted at all times in good faith. Number 3, the variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, safety, and morals of the community, or impair the purpose and intent of this article. Number 4, accessory structures are a permitted use within the MH1 district. And then finally, staff determined that the requested variance is the minimum relief necessary to alleviate the hardship. And then, before I forget, just going back to that proposed site plan, if you can see my mouse, the applicant owner also provided where the location of that shed would be if they did have to meet the current setback requirements. And so your options as the board are to find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met, and therefore approve project number 2025-050046 for a 7-foot rear north yard setback variance from the minimum required 10-foot rear setback a 10-foot right side east yard setback variance from the minimum required 15-foot side yard setback, and a 10% lot coverage variance to exceed the maximum allowed 30% lot coverage in the MH1 district at 7 Shady Lane North. Or you can determine that all the criteria as listed have not been met and therefore deny the project. Or you can determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain. If there is a decision on a denial, we would ask that you call out the specific criteria not met. And with that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me ask you, what is the front setback on that property?
That would be 25 feet.
And is that where the front of the house is proposed to be?
They're showing a 30-foot setback from the
Okay,
front property line.
okay, thank you. Any questions from the board to the staff? Of course. Yes, sir.
I'm a little confused at this one myself. So you go, I'm glad you're at that page. So you had it before as a 5-foot, and then with the house plan, you moved it to 3-foot to the back. But you said you had to maintain a 10-foot distance to the structure, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that measurement you have is parallel to the property line, but the structure would be measured diagonally from that corner to there. And if you did that, that would be more footage. You would not have to be 3-foot. You might even be able to the 5-foot. So I'm wondering, the measurement that line shows to the structure says 10 feet. That is to an indication line showing where the house is going to be. But if you take an angle from the corner of the house, from that corner of that house to the corner, to the shed in the corner of the house, that would be greater than 10 feet as it's shown in the drawing. And if you were to bring that closer and closer, you'd get up bigger than 3 feet in the back. So I'm not sure you've done the minimum relief, if you know what I'm saying.
I would argue that this is showing that it's 10 feet from the edge of the shed to
But
the
that
edge of
isn't-
the
that
property.
isn't the
So
building,
there's more
though.
potentially,
But that isn't the building. The other line, where that line indication line is not a building. That's just, airspace.
yes. Yes,
So
but if you were to, for example, shift the shed westward.
No, not that way.
No, just
Bring it towards the street.
diagonally
Slide
straight towards the building.
that way. You would be able to move that and be well more within your minimum requirements. I just think you don't need to do it that close. I mean, this is not a very well drawing, no insult to the person drawing it, but it wouldn't be a dimensionalized drawing. But if you prepared a dimensionalized drawing, which I suggest you do, you would see that point is not at all, you're 12, 15 feet away from it. And if you slide that house towards the street, you would be able to get 5, 6, 7 feet, whatever you need there, you get more, and they'd be asking for the minimum amount. So, my feeling is it would, I definitely want to hear from the applicant, but I don't think that is the minimum that they need. And you're going close when you didn't have to.
Anything else?
Nope.
Real quick, this 39.5, almost 40% coverage, that's basically, we're breaking the pervious coverage area that we're talking about with that, right?
That is lot coverage, so that's the area under roof, not the impervious requirement, which goes up to 60%. So
Okay.
they're still well below their impervious requirements.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we'll ask the applicant to come forward if they wish to make a statement. Please state your name for the record.
Jeff Prosser, 7 Shady Lane, Palm Coast, Florida.
And I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Why wouldn't you move the house 5 foot toward the front?
Need room for the septic up front.
Okay. Okay, go ahead with your statements.
Well, regarding the 3 foot, so you would gang about 18 inches from the corner of that shed to the corner of that building. If you did the angle, roughly 18 to 22 inches, you would gang that foot. So if you did 5 foot, you're going to be real close to that 10-foot angle, as you said.
I'm not sure I understand. Say that again now.
As you were stating, if you moved it back to the 5 foot as initially proposed, it would put the corner of that shed really close to the 10-foot to the corner of that new structure. And the reason that we all
So,
talked about.
do you
was
have
really
a,
to
do
get
you,
that.
you had a drawing of a house, do you have an architect or someone working with you?
Yes.
Could he prepare a scalable site plan, and I think you would see?
Oh, I understand completely. I can make it work with 5 foot. But,
Yeah.
you know, I was advised to go ahead and push it back to 3 at the technical
I'm
review.
thinking you're not asking for the minimum. You're already going a lot, but these are small lots. So I personally, I've said this in this meeting several times, that these lots of records are issues because the MH1 regulations are considering a bigger lot. But
And really,
3
I'm just-
feet to the back, knowing whether you have one now or you won't, or you maybe have one in the future, you're gonna have a neighbor back there. And it is close, and it would be better if that is not up, that close. And I don't think you need to be. So I think what your variance request is asking for is not the minimum relief. That's why I'm asking, if you were to draw it out in scale, you would find that you could move that closer to the street and not ask for as much and be within our requirements, so we're not gonna be bugging the neighbor behind you has rights too.
Mr. Langella, your point is well taken, but I do want to just clarify, behind there is the Malacompra Greenway, and
Okay.
that'll be in conservation forever.
Oh, that's right, we do have that. Yeah, I thought that was a PUD. But either
it's
way,
conservation
we still are
lands.
close to the back over there.
Yes.
I mean, I would contest that there is currently a shed in that place that is maybe 18 inches off the property line
Right,
that was there before I bought the property.
right. And those are existing conditions that what happens is, I've been in here in this county for 47, 48 years now. And back when I came here, we used to take an application for a house literally on one page and draw the drawing out and give it to the building inspector, myself, and we would build a house.
Yeah.
So things have changed quite a bit, and people build things without, now we have regulations and rules. So we're just asked, to follow some regulations, and I'm trying to give you all I'm only one person, so there's other people up here.
yeah.
But I just think if you were to move it forward, you wouldn't be asking for as much. We have people, that come in and ask for variances, and someone's gonna say, man, you gave that guy that close, why? It wasn't the minimum amount.
I understand.
That's all I'm saying.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Seeing nothing, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This time we'll open it for public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comments and back to the board.
Well, I'll just say what I started to say. I don't think we're asking, me, I usually go for all these things, but I don't think we're asking for the minimum, and I know we have people that, listen to us and we know, and I think if we were to continue it and ask for him to bring a scalable drawing that shows that relief, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but if he was, since he's gonna be.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Since he's going to be asking for more than the variance anyway, because his drawing well illustrates if he has to be 10 feet, he very well may not get that in there. But, I mean, if we can agree to a 5 foot and see if he can fit it into a 5 foot on both sides as it was first drafted, then, or if he just wants to agree to that today, I don't know. But I would say,
I agree. I think it could be slid up. This is not the minimum alleviance, yeah. So-
yeah, I mean, I did not catch that he was against a conservation easement, but even still, I mean,
Even still.
I think he could still do it without even, if he had no other choice, I would say, yeah, let's get no choice. But this one, he does have a choice.
Mr. Langella, one option, and it's just an option, I'm not directing the board, obviously.
Yes.
Is you could make a motion to approve a variance with a 5 foot rear, a 5 foot rear setback, contingent also upon providing staff a scale drawing showing that 5 feet.
Mr. Chairman, could we ask the applicant to come back up?
Would the applicant please come forward again, please? State your name one more time for us, thank you.
Jeff Prosser.
Jeff, do you mind doing that? I mean, we could, I was going to ask for continuance.
It's just more cost added that I'm really trying to reduce, but I mean, if that's what you guys are wanting, I'm kind of on the fence here. Do I turn the mobile home back into rental property, or do I move forward with this? I mean, the 5 foot would give me that, but you guys would want a scalable drawing before?
No. So
you'll
this is
approve
what
it?
your choice would be. What the attorney said is we could approve it with a 5-foot, even though you're asking for 3 feet, you would then just provide them probably what, at time of submission for your home?
Permitting, yeah.
When you go to get a permit, they're gonna deny you unless you come up with that thing being within 5 feet, no more than 5 feet. So that gives you the option that you can still kind of place it, move it around a hair, but as long as you stay within the 5 feet off that, no closer than 5 feet, you're good. So we're giving you a variance for 5 foot, not necessarily in that exact location, but to meet 5 feet from the back and 5 feet from that east setback, the east property line. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes complete sense, but I'm
So
good
that
with
way you're not asked to come back to this board.
Because now that I look at it, and I understand why you want a scalable drawing, but the 5 foot would not pass the board, would not pass your guys' 10-foot ruling on sheds. It's 10.5-foot setback on the east side. If you 5-foot setback from the side plus 8 foot's 13 foot, so I'm already going to be at this point well over 10 foot, because it's going to overlap the building. Because 8 foot by 5 is 13.
If your drawing is correct,
No, I'll have to do a scale drawing for you to
yeah,
see.
yeah, so then I would say we should continue it.
Yeah, then continue it.
Let's continue it and bring a scale drawing in so we could see.
We can pass it contingent upon that. Is that right?
Well, if we pass the 5 feet, he can't make the 5 feet, he has to come back
5
in
foot won't
and
work.
maybe do another
You'll deny the-
application.
You'll deny the building permit.
Right.
On the 5 foot, it has to be the 3 foot, because the 3 foot would give me the 10 foot I need between the
Could ask
house
the-
and the
we
front
could
of the
ask
shed.
We could ask the staff, is that gonna work for you guys?
There is a third option we could do where you could approve the 5 and 5 foot setbacks as well as a reduction of that 10-foot requirement, separation requirement.
Well, okay, the separation requirement, the purpose of that was for what reason? Was that a fire reason? What was that reason?
No? It's not a fire?
I know we've approved them when they connected the two, which was sort of an oddity, but then that becomes part of the principal structure. So I don't know what the purpose of that 10-foot was.
We don't believe it's a fire-related. It's not in all districts, only in residential. Best of our abilities, it's an aesthetic requirement.
We also have to approve the maximum coverage, too. There's two issues to this whole thing. Okay,
Technically, it's 3 separate variances.
yeah.
Be three,
Oh, well,
but the
we're gonna
2
do, it's one variance, but you have 2 issues on it, one variance.
We have the
Three.
side setback, the rear setback, and then the lot coverage.
They're all separate.
Yeah, it's 3 separate variances.
Okay, I see one number on here. All right. So we have to do 3 different motions on this, is that what you're saying?
No, it would be all contained in one motion.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay. All right,
You want to put that together, Mark?
no. No, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on these motions, let you guys do that.
All right, thank you, sir.
So, yeah, so it looks like, I mean, I don't know, I think he's probably better off continuing it and just bring a scale drawing and show him. It's confusing to me because the way it's drawn shows that there's quite a bit of room. If there isn't that room, then there isn't that room, and that's fine.
Yep. Chair, I make a motion, we continue this, ask for a continuance.
Do we need to continue to a day certain?
That would be better for purposes of the notice. And just to clarify, that would be so that you could get a scale drawing and a better understanding of.
Okay, yeah, Chair, I make a motion, we ask for a continuance on this so we can get a scale drawing and get a better understanding of exactly how far this shed has to be away from the building to see if other variances are needed within this, or if we will just be able to do this at a 5 and 5.
Okay, would this be to time certain?
Yes, to our next meeting.
Next
meeting.
meeting.
Can he do that within the next meeting? Can you make that?
You do that within a month? Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
And just so, you know, he's drawing a scale drawing so we could try to minimize the reduction on this. Yeah.
Variance. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8 is also quasi judicial. Any member of the board having anything to report?
Nope.
Hearing none, this is project number 20250500043, a request for a variance in the residential district. Ms. Simone.
This property is located out on the barrier island at 3 Pelican Lane. You have seen this property before at your January and February planning board hearings. And we'll get back into the history. But just to recap, this future land use is mixed use, low intensity. The zoning is RC, residential, limited commercial. It's not in a particular flood hazard, being located in flood zone X. The soils are well draining, and there are no wetlands on the property. So again, if you remember, this is lot 13 and the southerly 8 feet of lot 16 of the River Beach subdivision. The owner is seeking a new street side setback variance and lot coverage variance for his proposed pump house, intending to supersede the variance approvals granted by the board through order number 5274, which was approved at the February 11th, 2025 regular meeting. This planning board order granted a 25-foot street side setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot street side setback for a pool and pool deck, a 3.49-foot rear yard setback variance from the minimum required 10 feet for a pool and pool deck, a 23-foot street side setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot street side for a pump house, and then finally a 0.82% variance from the maximum 35% lot coverage, subject to the Planning and Development Board's condition that the pump house be within the walled-in area of the pool and pool deck and with its height not to exceed 4 feet. The owner submitted then an application to appeal the Planning and Development Board's decision regarding the condition on the pump house. The appeal was heard by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners at its May 5th regular meeting, and the commission voted unanimously to deny the appeal on the basis that the Planning and Development Board's decision was supported by competent substantial evidence, the due process was accorded to the applicant, and the essential requirements for the law, primarily the 4 criteria for the variance, had been observed. Although the appeal was denied, our code for our procedure for variances does not prohibit a property owner from modifying or reapplying for a variance following an undesired condition or denial. This differs notably from our procedures for rezonings, which require that property owners wait 6 months before reapplying. But again, this doesn't apply to variance requests, and as such, the owner is elected to submit a new variance application. The new request is to place the pump house now with a base of 12 feet by 8 feet and a height of 7 feet 6 inches. That's the top of the wall. So then it would be 9 feet 3 inches to the peak of the roof. He wishes to locate that 2 feet 8 inches from the left-west street side property line. The pump house would then abut the front south yard setback line and be located 3 feet 4 inches from the southwest corner of the existing dwelling. The applicant has also submitted various digital renderings to showcase that the pump house would be designed and built to be consistent with the character of the existing dwelling. You can start to see that there. So the actual requested variances are for a 22.3-foot left street side setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot street setback, which is 0.66 feet less than the previously approved 23-foot street side setback, as well as a 1.2% lot coverage variance, which is 0.38% more than the previously approved 0.82% lot coverage variance. The increase in lot coverage due to the proposed pump house increasing from 12 feet by 6 feet to 12 feet by 8 feet. The approval of the new variance requests would supersede the previous variances for the pump house, as well as the condition to limit the height to 4 feet and locate it within the Walden area. And then the previous variances for the pool and pool deck would remain valid. I believe one of the justifications that the applicant provided for increasing the size of the pump house was that the pool is intended to be an endless swimming pool with the constant jets and water pressures, and that it requires a larger than normal pump system. And so here we have some of those digital renderings showcasing what that pump house would look like, that the style would be consistent with the style of the existing dwelling and how it would fit into the pool area. Again, providing that the variances for the pool and the pool deck are approved and are not being amended here. So again, to summarize, the property is 7,500 square feet. Again, it's lot 13 in the south, 8 feet of lot 16 of the River Beach subdivision. It is an undersized lot of record with the minimum required lot size in the RC district normally being 9,000 square feet. Planning and Development Board Order number 5274 granted several variances for the pool and pool deck, subject to the condition that the pump house be within the Walden area of the pool and pool deck with its height not to exceed 4 feet. This was appealed by the applicant, and then the Board of County Commission unanimously voted to deny the appeal. So again, the new request specifically is for a 22.34 left street side setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot street side setback and a 1.2% lot coverage variance from the maximum allowed 35% lot coverage. Would supersede the previously conditioned variance approvals for the pump house, and the variances for the pool and pool deck would remain valid. This is a before-the-fact request, and we have received 2 written objections, which were forwarded to the Planning and Development Board members. So again, addressing our variance criteria. Number 1, the subject property is an undersized lot of record, being part of the River Beach subdivision dating back to 1959, and being approximately 1,500 square feet under the minimum lot size of 9,000 square feet in the RC district. Number 2, this is a before-the-fact variance request, and the applicant is seeking permission before applying for a building permit. Number 3, the granting of the variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, safety, and morals of the community. The applicant has submitted renderings showing the pump house would be designed and built to be consistent with the character of the existing dwelling. Number 4, pools, pool decks, and pump houses are permitted accessory uses and structures in the RC district. And then for our 5th criteria, the newly proposed location of the pump house reduces the necessary relief for the street side setback, but increases the necessary relief for lot coverage. The current 4-foot height limitation does reduce the accessibility and use of the pump house. And while the requested variances are before the fact and the property is an undersized lot of record, the hardship is self-created. So your options as the board are to find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met and therefore approve project number 2025050043 for a 22.34 foot left west street side setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot street side setback and a 1.2% lot coverage variance from the maximum allowed 35% lot coverage for a pump house at 3 Pelican Lane. Or you can find that all the variance criteria have not been met and therefore deny the project, or you can determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain. And with that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board. And if there is a decision on a denial, we would ask that you call out the specific criteria not met. And with that, I will submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for staff? And then we'll call the applicant forward if they wish to come forward and make a statement. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Raymond Royer, 3 Pelican Lane, Flagler Beach. Yeah, I submitted a new application, and I was granted to review this with the commissioners later. And just to let you know, I wasn't allowed to submit these pictures. They considered it new evidence. And the pictures I was trying to show was actually the pump house I was trying to originally build. In the discussions that we did have with the commissioners, they asked me to maybe possibly build a wall around, to get the size they wanted. Some of the discussion was, I brought up that, I used to be a rescue swimmer for the Navy, and I want to get back in the pool, so it's going to be more of a jet system that's made in Germany, that it's kind of flush to the wall surfaces of the pool. So those 2 pumps are going to be 2 4-horsepower motors. The discharge alone requirement needs at least 1.5 foot for a discharge, and you need a minimum of a 6-inch PVC discharge on that. So it's a unique system, and I didn't bring it up earlier because I didn't. We had discussions earlier in our earlier shop, and I was told that those other things would be when I would require permits. Like we had discussions, like I was going to run power out there. I'd probably have to get permission to pull permits for underground plumbing and all that stuff. And so I didn't bring a lot of this stuff up. So prior to going to the hearing, and fortunate enough, I was working on this, and I was hoping if we had a third process with yous that I was going to present that at your meeting, but unfortunately, you decided with a 4x4x4. So and even the small pump system, if I would have put a pump system in there, a 4x4x4 is, it all depends on your unit that you're putting in there. I usually go at least the minimum grade and above. I'm not a, I don't cut corners. My background, just to let you know, I'm also a retired firefighter. I used to work in the HVAC business on the refrigeration side, so I was with the pipe fitters union. So I know how to lay out stuff. I know how to read prints, and I also submitted this. This also was submitted with a blueprint. I mean, not a blueprint, but forgot the word for it. Not this one here. I submitted earlier with the plot being measured out by a surveyor. It was surveyed. So it's all surveyed, and that's about it. I mean, I'm hoping these pictures would help my neighbors that disputing it. I am talking to an attorney, just to let you know, and the reason I'm going further out is because we had our discussions that the setbacks out front are 25 feet. I'm 27 feet with my home. I know you just want me to meet the corner, but after having my discussion with the commissioners, they said, well, if you're going to put this, you better make sure that all the equipment fits in there. And so I laid a plan on the grass and staked it. And the pumps alone are almost close to about a little over 2.5 feet long. And then I had that discharge on the front end and the intake coming in. And so I decided to go a little larger because I don't have to ask for a variance for that. So the variances I'm asking for is for the west side and the 1% that I'm going over for coverage, because they said I'm going over coverage because of my roof that I'm building a little larger now on the shed. That's it.
All right, any questions from the board? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We'll open it now for the public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please step forward. And state your name for the record, please, ma'am.
Jackie O'Connell. I'm 7 and 8 Mockingbird Lane. I'll keep my comments a little bit briefer tonight because you've heard from me before. Just now we were talking about a pump house, a lot of discussion about a pump house. And yet when I look at the application, the most recent one, it says it's a pool house structure shed. So I'm a little confused by this. It kind of feels like all the previous concerns that you all have had, that I have had, along with your reasonable recommendations, have kind of fallen on deaf ears. So I'm not sure, are we looking at a shed here, or are we talking about a pump house? Since most recently Mr. Royer talked about a pump house, I'll address that. So my objection number one, the new design increases the size of the structure far beyond hardship criteria. Your height limit of 4 feet addressed the concerns that we previously talked about of intersection safety and neighborhood sightlines. You've seen the applicant's very pretty renderings of the plan. I may need help with the technical side.
I think he wants, is that Carlos in there?
There she, all right.
You've seen the very nice artistic renderings. This is an
Could you
an
just
actual
slide
view.
your phone?
Move it over out of the wording. There you go.
Oh, that's a terrible picture.
Lights got it blurred
If
out.
not, I could walk around.
There you go.
Twilight. Thank you. So that's how
Carlos
it
is the
actually
man.
looks now. Now, this is my artistic, I use the term loosely, rendering of what it's going to look like as far as the sightline impairment when we have a 9.5-foot structure, 12 feet long, 8 feet deep. Objection number two, the larger size pool house will in turn increase the lot coverage. And this will exacerbate the water runoff issues that we have. You'll recall that the applicant already has water issues. And this is his photo from the January meeting. So you can see the gutter going off to the back. I think it may even exceed his property line. The latest plan does not address how higher water runoff will be handled to mitigate any flooding issues that could occur on Mockingbird and its abutting properties. We'll have issues of safety, accessibility, and eventually property value declines. Objection number three, the new plan shifts the largest structure to a location only 8 inches further back from the property line, but at only 2.5 feet. This is still far short of the required 25 street side setback. Just imagine if all of our neighbors decided to request a structure of 9.5 feet high, 96 square feet, and less than 2.5, 3 feet from the property line, our neighborhood would look like a prison complex.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sorry your time's up.
That
We
was all
appreciate
that-
it.
that was
Could
the
we
technical.
give her
That was
another
the-
minute because
That
of
was the
her
technical,
technical
though.
problem?
I'm at 2.5, but thank you. And all that leads into objection number four. You all, as a board, have been keenly aware of setting precedent and making sure that you don't change the feel of a neighborhood. If this variance was granted, it would do exactly that. It would change the feel of our neighborhood. Property owners, when they purchase a property in our development, they know that they have covenants, including a height restriction on fences, and they've embraced those. It has the feel of a lovely older neighborhood. That will go if this variance is requested. So no matter how attractive this pool house may be, It will still be a 9.5-foot unsightly protrusion on the main road of our neighborhood. It will diminish the sight lines from both Mockingbird and Pelican Lanes. It will impede traffic safety approaching the intersection. This large structure and its placement do not meet the minimum relief required for hardship variance. As staff noted, and as we agree, this is a self-created hardship by the applicant, and we ask the variance be denied.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to come forward? Seeing none, we'll close public comments and return to the board.
Chair, I have to say, I have to agree, this doesn't meet the minimum requirements. This is well above and beyond what we've been looking at here. I really feel that the variance we granted with the 4-foot height on the pump, on the pole pump, I understand that this is a larger pump and there's a lot more action going on. It's one of those swim pools where you can swim in it and stay in the same spot. I get that, but I don't see that it needs a 96 square foot building to house 2 pumps. I live out in the west. I've got pumps for all the stuff that run water on my property, and my pump house is not even that large.
I have a different feeling on this reapplication. I think he did a nice job with trying to get close to his setbacks, and you know, with having such a small property, you know, people are entitled to have pools. We made concessions earlier in the meeting today for that same reason. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, everybody can find fault in things, but I think he did a nice job in trying to bring this back to the board in a fashion that it could be passed.
Chair, can I ask a quick question? His previous approval that he was given, that still stands, right? The one that we gave him with the height restriction on the pump house of 4 feet?
At the moment, yes.
Okay.
What is the actual variance request?
It's a new variance request for that side setback. It's technically being reduced by 0.66 feet, as well as a slight increase in the lot coverage variance to 1.2% from 0.82% due to the footprint of the shed increasing slightly.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The objection, I was the one who raised the objection about the pump house from the beginning, only because it jets out in the very front of the house, and you did a nice job with the rendering showing that it's in a similar style of the house. But it comes out pretty far out to the close of, and again, it's a small road. It comes out pretty close to where the edge of the property line is, this tall structure. And, I had asked, can you just turn it sideways and put it along the house? And there is a window there. I'm not sure what that is, a little bathroom or whatever that window is. Can you put it in the back, where you have the fence, and can you work out a place for this, and you could have it tall? Because he indicated to us that the pump house was to store his items in case of a hurricane. Instead of putting them in the garage, he was going to put them in there. Today, the application is for the bigger jets, and I have a pool, and I have pumps at my house, and I just like yours. I mean, and you've seen, my beach house, and
Yes, I've been there.
they don't. The whole thing, the height of it is this big, and you can get to things without it. And I think that I think that there was another way of creating this without going so close to the front and to the edge of the property. And again, that's as one of the people spoke, and we heard from one lady talked about the runoff. So the slight increase in percentage of runoff, I'm not going to make a big stink about that, but there is a runoff issue. But I mean, we're not going to exacerbate it. They're not going to see that many more grains of sand on their driveway for the runoff issue. So the footprint isn't as big of a deal for me as just the pure placement in the front. So I looked at it and I was thinking maybe he was doing this for privacy purposes.
That's what I truly.
That's
yeah,
what
I
I'm
thought
kind of
that was,
thinking. I don't know if that's the actual reason behind the whole thing was because of the short fence height. And
Are 8-foot or are 6-foot fences not allowed in that area?
Not within the front or street side setbacks.
Because he's so close to the
Because he's on the
street.
street side, okay. Would that be a variance we could allow?
And a 6-foot fence, a lot of people have them. I mean, they're all over.
They're all over the
coast
place.
And they're definitely up the sidelines. And to me, that would be, if that's what his real request was, to try to get privacy, he doesn't have to have that tall structure on the front. He could still.
And again, if part of the request was in order to have a place to store his lawn equipment, his chairs and stuff like that, then why aren't we here for a shed request variance? I just think that we're going around all kinds of ways when I just don't think we're asking for the proper thing.
Mike?
Okay.
Everybody wait in, let's see.
Well, I can understand your position. However, I kind of agree with Mike. Well, we'll entertain a motion.
Can we, we're going to probably end up with a tie motion, so your issue is let it do it because, Mike said basically because he don't think it was an eyesore and you thought it was fine.
I don't see the problem with it. I think it, in my personal opinion, I think it's doable. I think the people that are, well, the person that spoke against it has their opinion, but I would make a motion to approve the application.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
If you want me to act as vice chair, I can take this, you can make the second for the applicant for the thing, if you want to do that, Mike.
Let me see what he's discussing this.
Could you clarify what you're suggesting with the height?
The motion on the floor right now is to approve it.
It is to approve it.
But we're
It
looking
has
for a
nothing to do with the
second.
height. It's
But we're looking for a
approved as
second.
shown or as submitted.
Never mind.
And as the chairman, I cannot second that. Is that right?
You could pass the gavel if you'd like to second.
I'll just take the, if you want, Mike.
I'll pass the gavel to Mr. Landy.
And then I'll give it right back to you. Okay, so can we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. We have a second. Mike, you're at it again.
All right, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye. Nay, whatever.
I'm not on there. We have a nay.
We have a tie vote.
Can we, Mike, could we, it's the end of our meeting, but could we ask the applicant to come forward?
Please come forward and state your name one more time for us.
Raymond Royer, 3 Pelican Lane. Yeah, my early application, I was wishing that there was more members present today.
Me too.
Yeah. But anyway, there was on the way through it, I mean, Mark and I had a confusion on the height issue. We corrected that. It was presented in front of the commission with the height issue again. I never said there was going to be, 10 feet walls, okay?
Well, is the purpose of this tall structure as a storage structure, or is it to house the pool pumps? Or is it a dual purpose, and that's what you're trying to do, is make one structure
Its
do
main
everything?
purpose is going to be 90% of the time for the pumps, okay? It's not going to be for storage. The only time it's going to be for storage is for hurricanes.
So don't you think you could make that structure smaller? I mean, that is a very big structure for that, don't you think you could?
It's-
Again, to meet the minimum hardship requirement, so again, as I was saying in the previous application, is there a way that we could do this and we could continue you to get an applicant, that way you're not reapplying 10 times, to ask for something, a little, it's a big structure you're asking to put on the corner of the front of your house. And that's what I think where the two dissenting votes were at. And, can you minimize it more? And maybe, like I said, is there another place to put the storage and not make it so tall? And is it in fact a privacy issue you're really trying to capture here? Because I understand that.
It is a privacy. I'd like to go 6 feet with my wall, but I can't, okay? So the front is the main road. So you have a lot of traffic. We didn't even have a lot of traffic that, people are doing U-turns, yeah, it's privacy. That's why I could probably go a little more on height, but I actually need the square footage, because if I go tighter after laying out and seeing how the pumps are going to, and just to let you know, there's going to be 3 pumps. There's going to be 2 pumps for the jets, mainly for swimming, and there's going to be a 3rd pump for filtering the water. So there's going to be a total of 3 pumps. So one side will have the jet side for swimming, and the other side will have the pool system. I tried to center it, okay, so it is offset. If you looked at the plans, so it's going to be 2.5 feet on one side, or 2 foot or 6 inches, I forget what it is, without having the pictures in front of you. But yeah, it's going to be 2.8 on the other side, for the west side, the street side, to the wall, where the wall would be if we ran it through, and then it's going to be 3.4 on the other side. And the reason I went 3.4, I want a minimum of a 3-foot gate, so I got to put 2x6s for the hinges, the latches. So I made that room there, but I want a minimum of a 3-foot gate in case there's emergency services, like the paramedics got to get back there with a gurney or whatever, and they have the room to get through there. So.
And Mr. Roy, there's no way to move that up against the side of the house. That is the only place you can put that.
No,
That's the part that I find really.
Well, we went through this before. That back corner is actually an existing back porch that's enclosed.
Okay.
I would not want to build a permanent building up against that.
Is that not
Plus-
a permanent building?
Huh?
The building you would be putting this up against, is that not a permanent
I'm going to
building?
build it at block. It would be permanent. It would be built against the building.
And the home is a permanent building, so they'd both be permanent buildings against each other.
Yeah, but the problem back there, the main structure is made out of block.
Block, and then that part's probably got a wood
That
closed.
is
It was wood
plywood.
closed in.
Yeah.
You can still build up against that, though. Mark,
Well,
am
we
I
have
wrong? You can still build up against wood.
We have termite issues in Florida.
Yes, we do.
Okay?
There's ways
And-
around them.
And you know what? I want to ask Ron and Mark, why do you keep bringing up your building, your structures, and everything else? That's a personal preference. What I build on my property is my property. I come in here in good faith, okay? I presented pictures now that I couldn't even present in front of the commission because it was considered new evidence, okay? I present a visual hoping the neighbors would be satisfied, and I found out good news today. Mrs. Walsh sold her house today. I talked to the new neighbors. They love the pictures that I showed them. They want the house to be built. So that's eliminated one neighbor. This property back here, like the gentleman said earlier, I'm improving my property. Take a ride back to the cul-de-sac and see that property, okay? It hasn't had nothing done in like the last 20 years, and it shows. So I'm upset that I got to fight, and I have a fighting background. I was in the Navy, a firefighter, a SAR swimmer. I fight. And if I have to litigate this, I will litigate this. I'm not outside the scope of the law at all. And when I had my hearings with my sit-down meeting with these guys, they told me I could go to 12 feet high, minimum. So I don't understand why everybody's barking, and then I come in these meetings just to see you guys pass things. And I'm going through the ringer, literally the ringer here. So please give this some thought. I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to get back in the pool, get my health back together, okay? I'm a veteran. I want to help veterans. I'm an RC. She denies that I shouldn't have the RC. Well, I'm going to use that RC to do a 501c and bring veterans in there and swim in this pool. I'm done explaining. You guys make up your mind.
Mr.
And
Roy,
if you
to
have to
answer-
postpone it to the next meeting, I appreciate that, where there's more members, and we can discuss this later. Thank you.
We appreciate
To
it.
answer your question, Mr. Roy, the reason why I bring up my personal experience, we're put on this board because we all have a certain level of experience in dealing with this type of stuff. I mentioned my personal home just as an anecdote,
Yeah.
but I've dealt with many of these. I've worked with Mr. Langello building many projects that involve stuff like this. And my biggest hangup on this is not the minimum alleviation for what you're looking for with your variance. And that's why I'm trying to ask questions to help us find a way for you to put this project. I see how passionate you are, and I can understand that. And trust me, I want you to have this. But we have to fall within certain guidelines in order to do that. And that's why Mr. Langello and I are constantly asking, maybe can we try this? Maybe we can try that. Because we are trying to be as helpful as possible in this scenario. But again, we have to meet these restrictions. And with that, this is not the minimum alleviation.
Well,
for
just to
your
let you know, just to have a reminder, because, these guys deal with a lot of stuff here. The original plan was actually on the property line. He's asked me to move it. I tried everything to move it. Then I was thinking about centering it, but then after I, went to the 3-foot gate, I can't make it 3 foot, okay, from the property line. Maybe I can go, instead of 12 feet wide, maybe 11 feet wide, make it 4 feet, 3.5 feet on the other side. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. But I would, if these guys want to continue this, I'd prefer a continuous and then have other board members here to have discussion, because right now you guys are at a tie, and it doesn't help me to move on. I want to try to start this by November, when we get out of the rainy season, so I can dig this hole.
All right, we appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you
very
guys.
much. Yeah, I suggested a continuance, not necessarily as a tiebreaker, but, and it very well might be, that he might come back with a slight amendment, something to ease it a little bit. And that would be my recommendation to come back. I know the two of you are probably saying just bring it back as is, and that's fine.
I think we're going down the wrong road. I think he's done his due diligence. I think it's a nice plan, and I would hopefully, maybe one of you two would change your vote, because...
Well, we already had a vote on that, Michael.
Well, we can have another vote.
We could make another different motion.
Could we motion to a continuance or maybe a
No,
time certain to where
unfortunately,
we
I
have a
won't-
fuller
yeah,
board?
I won't be here next month. I'll be on vacation, and, I just think it's a burden that we shouldn't be putting this gentleman through. I think he's done what was asked of him. He's done a nice job, because someone else has a different opinion. It's really not grounds to deny it. I'm really,
So, Mike, the only thing I got to say is that we do have setbacks already.
No, I
So his-
understand,
so-
but
I
his
mean,
setback-
wait.
Yeah.
So his request is he's requesting to go beyond what everybody gets to have something for the minimum relief.
He does have an approval. He does have an approval for his pool. He could go start building
He can
tomorrow.
build
no,
his
not
pool.
even only that, but, I mean, you're talking about, what, a difference of, the relief he's looking for was 2 feet?
No, this also has to do with the height of the building.
Yeah.
His
It-
previous
it was
approval.
this-
Hold it, but I don't see that as the issue right now. The issue is no longer the height of because his roof line, he's not higher than his roof line. So I really don't get it. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, usually I will understand things, but in this case, I don't see it. I'm really perplexed, because I think it's done nicely, it's done in taste, it's being done for a good cause, and if you look down the road, I really don't get it. I mean, usually I understand what both you gentlemen are talking about, but in this case, I'm sorry, I just, I just don't get it. I mean, he has the 25 feet from the street. He has the side yard is maybe a little tight, but in the end, I mean, we approve so many different variances here. Why are we picking on this one item? I mean, I just don't get it. I'm sorry. That's my feeling at this point. I mean, this happens to look like a nice addition. It's not a detriment to the community. It's not going to spill any more water than it's already hitting the ground from a small roof like that. I just don't get it. I mean, like I said, I wish one of you would change your mind and give this guy the relief he's looking for.
So I guess that's not going to happen.
I guess not.
I guess we're looking for
I mean,
continuance.
I was going to explain, but I don't know if, Mike, you want to hear.
No, I'm good. I don't,
right,
at this
right.
point, it's a moot point.
Right.
You have your opinion, I have my
Right,
opinion.
right. I mean, again, I agree with a lot of things you're saying. I just thought that we would try to meet that minimum requirement rather than just granting. You said we passed a lot of variances, and I would say we did, and we didn't pass them too. And we tried to balance that thing. I'm going to just say something just so, and I've said this before, that I'm hoping that the county, when we do this rewrite, they sort of see this issue. We have a bifurcated county, and if you live on the west side of the county, you have a big lot. The mindset of the property owners and the stuff out there is totally different than when you get to the east side. And different parts of the east side have different philosophies. So, and even though we're not in Palm Coast, I can tell you right now, Palm Coast, they don't hardly deny a variance at all. And that's not unusual, because it's hard to meet all the criteria legally. So, I know Mr. Royer said he wants to get a lawyer and all that. I mean, if the lawyer knows his salt, he'll tell him, you don't have the right to get a variance. This is something that you're granted, and you meet requirements, and the requirements are to keep it level for all players. But when you come to me on the west side, and we had a lot that was a small lot out there, and the home just didn't fit, and it's 5-acre zoning in a lot that was a quarter of an acre because somebody parceled it out. It wasn't going to work, but nobody cared out there. There was farm fields all around it, but there are other lots, and they're in close proximity. So when I look at that, I say, well, I got to consider somewhat of how the neighbors, but this isn't really because of the neighbors. In effect, it was because this thing was so close to the side of their property line, this large, tall structure. And that was the only thing we didn't deny. He could build a pool, he could put a pool house, he could do a lot of these things. And, I never said to center it. I don't know where that came from. I said to try to put it against the house. And then if he was coming out, he wasn't as far. And it seems like the pool went forward to the street, and it gives you no room to work with it there. But I know there's a window now. I saw a window on one of the drawings, and I don't really know what the window is to.
Most probably a bathroom.
Yeah, and if it's I don't know what it's to, but, so I really don't know all the facts, and that wasn't given to us. The idea that it's, a concrete structure, he doesn't want to put a wood structure, I mean, that you can build it out of pressure treated, you can build it out of steel studs.
You can build on all kinds of
You can put blocks. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can get, and you can build it in regular wood frame, and it meets the building code. It's not going to hurt anything. I just think that there was a better way of doing it, and we came back with a very beautiful drawing. I agree, but it didn't really reduce that minimum to what he could have done. That's all I was asking. If he comes forward with the same application in a month, and people feel different about it, then fine.
Feel different about it, yeah.
And if that's all that he can show, because he shows that in his presentation, but his presentation didn't show that today. Presentation was, I need this more because I want to put I got to put these 2 jets from Europe, and I got to on one side of the house, and I want another thing on another side, and and I also want to put all of that wasn't the minimum. It was, as staff said, self-created. So can we reduce it a bit just to make it so that it's palatable? That's all I was asking for.
The minimum.
That's why I don't mind continuing it, so he doesn't have to try to reapply, and he doesn't pay again, and we do it to a time certain, as your motion was
Can
trying
we,
to start.
can we now motion this to a continuance? Can we do that?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right, cool. Then, Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this to a time certain next meeting, or would we want to do the meeting after that?
I would request that you make the continuance for a specific reason.
Yes.
I don't want to put
can-
words
Okay.
in your
Oh,
mouth,
yeah.
but it sounds like in this case, it's for the applicant to come back with more evidence that this is the
More information,
minimum
more information on the
relief.
pumps, more information on, I mean, I could very well be wrong. This could be some newfangled thing that I've never seen, but I've dealt with a whole lot of water pumps and the size from a 3 to a 4. It's like the pump size, they don't get that much different. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe
So,
the suggestion would be to bring more information to justify the size and location of this.
okay, yeah, so I make a motion that we continue this so that the applicant can bring forward more information in regards to requirements for the pool, structure, stuff of that nature, and to a time certain 2 months from now, that way. Can we do that? Would that? I'm trying to give you the best board available because Mike is not going to be here next month. So,
1 month?
trying to help you out. 1 month? All right, then we'll do next month.
He can build a pool, well, can't build a pool until he has a pump.
Yeah, you can't build a pool without a pump.
Okay, we
Do you
have,
have any schematics on the pumps?
That would be,
He should come to the mic.
yeah, sorry.
yeah, come
You'll
forward
have
to the
come up
microphone, please. State your name again and start over.
Raymond Royer, 3 Pelican Lane. Just to let you know, this system is a streamlined system. So, you can have systems where you can portably put the pump into the pool and all this stuff. But this is flush, and there's 3 jets coming off. And this will, and I'm an advanced swimmer, not now, today, but I will probably get back to not as close as I was when I was in
Mr.
my
Royer,
20s. But,
Mr. Royer, Mr. Royer, just to make it simple, we have a motion, so what we were looking for was that you bring
Yeah, the pump.
information.
Yeah.
Did you have any of that tonight?
Yeah.
So you're not going
No.
to replead the case now, plead it, save it to the next time so we can.
Oh, can I just explain one
Yeah.
thing about the pumps? Because, Don mentioned about knowing all the thing about pumps. This is a different system that you've probably never seen. So the jets itself actually have the intake and the discharge on each jet, okay? So that eliminates we having a separate. And then your only requirement with this is they want you to be a minimum of 30 feet and under to get the maximum velocities out of this jet system and the pump systems, and it only allowed you up to 9 elbows. Okay, after 9 elbows, you start adding more restrictions. So it's a German-made unit. The Germans are really engineering type systems. So it's gonna cost me some money, and I'd like to protect it from the weather. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have a motion for continuance. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the continuance?
When?
Till next month, is that right? 1 month.
He's
Okay.
trying to get his pool built as soon as possible.
All right.
So.
Yeah.
I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item, staff comments. Staff have any comments for us this evening?
Very briefly, I think we gave you a sneak peek at Senate Bill 180. The governor did sign that into law, throwing the entire state of Florida into disarray. We are going to be preparing an ordinance to repeal our tree protection ordinance. It is already void as a matter of law, but if you look on the Muni Code on the website as a member of the public, you're going to think that is still in fact our code. So we're going to have to clean that up.
Okay.
And so that'll be forthcoming.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. Any board comments?
Nothing here.
Go to public comments. Anybody wishing to speak to the board about anything that was not on tonight's agenda? We remind you that you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
It
State
won't
your
take
name
that
and
long.
address, please.
I'm Tamara Dampier, and I have a beach home in the Hammock, 31 and 33, lot 31, and my house is on 33 Malacompra. I just had a couple questions because I've been to code enforcement, and I've still not received answers back. I'm going to attend again tomorrow and try. When people apply for a variance, are the neighbors notified other than a sign in the road, in the front of the,
Yes,
Yes.
how?
by mail.
By mail?
Yes, with
So that,
written letter to all surrounding properties within 300 feet.
okay, I needed to know that. And the water runoff you all are very concerned with, and I'm very excited that you're concerned about that. When did that go into effect?
You're always supposed to hold your own water. on
Say
your
that
pro-
again?
You're supposed to hold your own water on your own property. That's the,
And that's always been effective,
Well, it's St. John's River.
I can't
Management
answer to that.
pretty much. Okay.
Been around for a long time. We've had.
Since the early 70s.
Yeah, it's been a long.
Yeah, and I believe in the 80s, they started making retention ponds
Yep.
and all that. So 40 years.
But homeowners should maintain their own water,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
No, not
in theory.
necessarily.
Well,
Not necessarily. It's a complex question, but go ahead. It's not a simple yes or no.
Yeah.
But there should be permeated area in everyone's home.
Not necessarily. Depends how your site was developed and when it was developed, and some people have off-site retention, and there's a lot of factors that could go into
Okay,
that.
but on average, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're free at some point to go into staff, they love me to hear this, and they will give you, they will sit down and talk to you and give you great information. We're actually not the technical people to answer all the questions you just asked tonight.
yeah.
That would be for them, you walk into their office and they're the experts.
Wave Simone.
Ask them how to get in touch with them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Any other member of the public?
Yeah.
Simone,
Any
give
other
your
member of the
personal
public
email,
wishing
and
to come forward?
Adam will come over and have dinner with you tomorrow night.
Seeing none. Seeing none, we'll close public comments, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
We are adjourned.